All right, folks, so forgive the kind of Philip Glass-ish appearance that I've got going on, but I had a few minutes to do this video and I thought, let me just go ahead and get it done. We had a new moon in Gemini a few days ago. Let me get you the exact date. Hello. Talk about spontaneous urges to do readings and what that does to you. We had the new moon, of course, on the 17th of June. I say, of course, as if it's self-evident, but let me straighten this out a little bit. On the 17th of June, and today is the 23rd, so about 5 days ago. And that new moon was square Neptune, and I'll place a link to that new moon video at the end of this video so you can go back and refer to it. And we talked about the fact that this new moon in Gemini gives us the ability to deal with and combat and create a new opening, particularly with regard to trying to put behind us or deal with some challenges related to Neptune in Pisces. And the fact that wherever Pisces sits in our chart, there has been for a while a kind of, I'll just use the word gaslighting, a murkiness. This particularly applies for people who feel like there's a kind of a smoke and mirrors-ness to something they're dealing with, in the Pisces part of their chart especially, and wherever that chart sits. Wherever that sign, whichever house that sign occupies and what that house stands for. Okay. 2 days before that new moon, we had Mercury in Gemini squaring Saturn on the 15th of June. And then a day after that new moon, we had the Sun actually squaring Neptune. So the new moon happened on the 17th. Would not surprise me if by the time you got to the 18th, there was an even greater awareness. With the Sun, it's an internal awareness. It's a spotlight that gets shown in the Gemini part of the chart that is alerting you to what role certain people associated with the Gemini part of the chart perhaps might have in this kind of Neptune and Pisces, murky, deceptive, lying, gaslighting, creating a loss of energy, perhaps a material loss, a moral loss, anything from gossiping, backbiting, things that you, if you try to gain clarity on or put your finger on it, you can't. It just kind of, it has that kind of smoke and mirrors quality. Well, the reason why I'm bringing this up is that in 2 days' time, Mercury now squares Neptune. And when we talked about that new moon, we talked about the fact that the transits that were impacting the new moon were, of course, the new moon itself was squaring Saturn. Mars was getting ready to trine Chiron and square Uranus. And the fact that Mercury was going to be squaring Neptune on the 25th of June. Well, as we head into this weekend, we have energies to reflect on that are expansive, and we have energies that require a little bit more combat, weeding out. The word I want to present for the sake of this video is disengagement. What does it mean to disengage from murky behavior? So if things are not clear, if there's perhaps an intuitive sense, or even if there's sometimes when things are not clear or being held to us, in order for our mind to make sense of them, Mercury, we are drawn back into that vortex over and over again because the mind demands, the soul demands a certain kind of clarity, clarity in communication, clarity in the presentation of facts, needing facts to secure yourself to something. Totally understandable, utterly human. But when those facts are not presented, and when those facts are, when people may have an agenda, when people may have done something that they shouldn't have done in the first place and are trying to cover it up or not being clear about it, and you have a sense of it, you have an intuitive sense of it, you have a factual sense of it, you've seen some evidence, you may have some doubts or some questions. It's not so much a matter or question in every single case to just eliminate a relationship or an environment, although in some cases that may well be where things are heading, or a decision is made, or that happens. In certain cases, it may be that you disengage from, that you decide that you're just not going to swim in murky waters, so to speak. And you realize that if you've tried to get facts on certain things or get clear on certain things, and those facts are not emerging, and how many times are you going to knock on the same door expecting a different response from someone who seems to be acting the same way over and over again, then perhaps the only thing to do might be to disengage. Now, you don't have to disengage from the party or the parties that are engaged. You can disengage from that topic of conversation or that subject, or seek to stop trying to get clarity if you've asked for clarity multiple times and feel like you've expressed yourself enough, but to no avail. You can, if someone is presenting some information to you and you think that it is not accurate, that's what you've got, and you may decide to disengage from that. Whether you decide to actually disengage from a person or a party or a dynamic or an intensity or a closeness in a relationship. And very often with these kinds of energies, we are entangled with people. There can be emotional entanglements and affections. It can be romantic entanglements. It can be business entanglements. It can be a job. It can be a boss. It can be hierarchy. Then one way for these energies to not get to you or to not affect you could very well be following a policy of disengagement. I've done what I can to ask for a certain type of respect and clarity, and it has not been forthcoming. So I will, rather than winding myself up or getting continually ensnared back into what is this whirlpool, demanding clarity when none is offering, what happens if I disengage from those energies and either carry on and see just what happens to this relationship as we move forward and focus on what I can control and what I can do, or disengagement might be I carry on, but I actively seek to start to change the environment. So this could be, rather than having my energy leaked or used up in ways that are impacting or hurting me or hurting my mental health or my emotional health, I can carry on, but also start the process of seeing how I can look for a new job or look for a new environment or whatever that is. Or it can just be outright disengagement. I am going to tune this out. I'm going to stop interacting with this person that much. I'm going to stop dealing with them. I'm going to, because the person is likely not going to change. If you're dealing with that, those could be effective. It's something to think about. It really is something to think about with these astrological energies. It could be a way to channel the energy of the new moon to create a fresh new start or a new beginning in the Gemini part of your chart by creating space for a new type of energy that does not include or that excludes people associated with this part of the chart who are exhibiting energies that are draining to you or that are energy leaks. I'm using a very 2023 word. That feel deceptive, that don't feel entirely clean or clear, or where there's just a sense that, there's something about this that isn't going to work. Now, if you have longer standing trust issues, or if there are patterns that keep returning, I encourage you to seek a therapist or professional advice or whoever it is that can help and underpin healing or growth in this area. But at the same time, as it concerns what is an astrological video and a relaying of what my interpretation of the astrological energies at the time, I'll just say part of the clearance, part of what is helpful with this new moon is that while some of the transits that have been happening and continue to happen into it, even into this weekend, are a little painful and demand a certain amount of assertive energy, and I'll come to that in a second, the real opportunity here is to be able to do away with or tune out energies that are creating loss of energy, material loss, loss of reputation, just where you just feel like, this is deceptiveness, a lack of honesty. And sometimes people are dishonest because they're being deceptive, and sometimes people are dishonest and they don't even have a finger on their own pulse. They don't even have an awareness of the fact that they are dishonest or murky, or don't always take responsibility for their side of the bargain when relationships or things are falling apart in some way. Don't say, I'm sorry, this was not clear, or this is what happened, or let me just explain, or let me clarify, let me explain my, just kind of keep the illusion going, because they're scared to let the illusion fall apart, or but here's the thing. In Sanskrit, there's a mantra that basically translates to something like, sort of, God lives in the truth, or the truth is God and God is beautiful, something along those lines. But God does live in the truth, and the truth really does float to the top, for better or for worse. And there's something about these kind of Neptunian energies where this awareness has been going on for a while, really. And it might be time with this new moon and some of these squares that have been occurring to Saturn and to Neptune by both the Sun and Mercury, and with the new moon, to finally make some decisions and act upon with this new moon, and create a clearance in the Gemini part of the chart to welcome in energies and people that are more in line with who you are now, and your values and your growth and everything that you have learned, and less perhaps representative of those energies and feelings and people that you would like to outgrow, or that you are outgrowing. So there is that opportunity to tune out, and disengage is a fascinating, important word, I think, related to this new moon. Now, the two transits that are occurring into this weekend are that Mercury squares Neptune on the 25th and Mars squares Uranus on the 26th. Mars is in Leo. Some action needs to be taken in the Leo part of the chart to continue to allow Uranus to manifest greater authenticity that is specific and unique to you in the Taurus part of your chart. The Taurus part of your chart should be taking on a lot of energy right now, with the North Node there getting ready to square Pluto, with Uranus there, and Jupiter there, goodness, creating a new beginning, and ending a 12-year cycle and starting a 12-year cycle. So it's a very dynamic part of the chart right now, and one of the 2 or 3 areas where we really should be prioritizing our energy. And so everything that we're doing is to support that Taurus part of the chart. So it could be that as you head towards Sunday and Monday, and as you head towards this weekend, you find that you have to take certain actions either through the mode of communication, Mercury, or through the pursuit of goals, or through the assertion of boundaries, both Mars, to allow those parts of the chart that are seeking expansion to expand, so that they are not stymied by either deception or encroachment, or someone hindering your goals, or even attacking you in some way with Mars's energy. It does not have to turn out to be an out-and-out fight or combat. And I'm not talking about physical combat. That's not even where I'm going, and I'm not advocating it, and that is not what this video is about, I hasten to add, okay? We're not talking about violence. We're talking about trying to clear the air, perhaps. You know what we're talking about? We're talking about setting a new set of boundaries. We're talking about setting a new set of ground rules. And even that language in and of itself can get the other person's back up. But the question is, in certain cases, you may feel or find that you're actively having to set new boundaries with certain people as you head into this weekend. In other cases, you might choose, because Venus is also in Leo where Mars is, and you might find that Venus helps in this process by giving you some velvet gloves to be able to tune out and disengage from some energies, so that you can eliminate them from your life. You can choose, if you like, because Venus is also going to square Uranus on July the 2nd. That'll be a gentler, softer, but it will be needed. You know, you are going to have to deal with it. You're going to have to, these transits are important transits. So I wanted to do this video to basically say the more challenging energies that are coming up as we head towards this weekend are really amplifying the message or the opportunity associated with the new moon in Gemini. And insofar as that video resonated with anyone, it may already be that things have emerged where You've been challenged by these Neptunian energies over the past week, and you may find that you've already started a process of communication to try and get clarity again, perhaps in some ways, or try to get to the truth of a matter. And you may have been met with Neptunian energies again. And sometimes these kinds of energies can mess with us, so that if someone has already been deceptive in one area, then it's hard for us not to keep projecting that awareness of lack of transparency onto other things that they do, so that even if the relationship wants to go back to normal and go back to a place of joy, it can't, because as we said, God lives in the truth, and the truth wants to be acknowledged. And until the truth is acknowledged, the foundation of these relationships, of the relationship we're talking about, have cracks in them. And until things get real, either we're not going to build our house on those foundations anymore, which means that they can be there and we interact with them, but we're not living in that space anymore. So structure can still stand, the relationship can still stand, maybe the intensity is lessened, the trust is lessened, the dependency is lessened, the reliance on it is lessened, the intimacy is affected when the truth cannot be acknowledged and discussed and talked about, or is compromised. Or someone has done something for murky reasons and is disguising it. Sometimes people say, well, yes, I know I shouldn't have done that, but I did that because I was trying to make things better. But they've already like blah, 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 blah. Okay, so disengagement. As you head into this weekend, you might find that you have to use communication to, when there's a square that happens, the faster moving planet, Mercury in this case squaring Neptune, may need to be engaged in order to manage or combat Neptune's energy in Pisces, or deal with, let's just use the word manage. So you may find that you have to have some words or some communication, some aspect of this may have happened already as this past week has progressed, and you may find that you need to continue this. It could be that if a discussion has already happened, the communication is more along the lines of seeking to disengage from further communication. Someone reaches out and say, I'm so busy, I've got, a disengagement can be iron fist in velvet glove. What the velvet glove is, hey, let me just get back to you in a few, where there's a disengagement that occurs that isn't out and out combat, because you may have felt like you've tried to get information you can't, and you're just not going to go down that path one more time. So the process of disengagement can start. With Mars squaring Uranus in the Leo part of the chart, you may need to engage with the Mars part of your chart, with the Leo part of your chart, and you may need to engage with certain energies to either pursue goals, unlock and take action to pursue goals in the Leo part of the chart, or protect yourself in the Leo part of your chart in order to allow Uranus in the Taurus part of your chart to develop or grow. And these are both squares that are coming up. Mercury, communication; Mars, testosterone, hunting, gathering, pursuit of goals, or managing conflict through boundaries, or through conflict, through combat. Again, I'm not suggesting physical violence or even anything that is going to get you into trouble, either with the law or make things worse. If a foundation is crumbling, try to find a way, unless you absolutely have to engage in some sort of way that requires, and you know what, if it's that serious, get professional help. If you need to see a lawyer, see a lawyer. If it's so serious that you need to engage with law enforcement, do it that way. Do not take things into your own hands, either verbally or physically. Okay, so let me just put that out there. Because I've used the word combat a few times and it concerns me. You have to be, it's important to be mindful with the language that we use. But in most other cases, with Venus's presence there in Leo, I think that a gentler approach could be a key, and it might just be, again, coming back to the word, disengaging. Because if you've tried, it might be time to leave a building that is on shaky foundations, or where the foundations have some cracks. And what leaving the building means for different people could be very different things. looking for a new job, starting that process, acknowledging that something is broken. If it's a relationship where you can't just leave it, what does disentangling mean? You know, if it's a friendship, it's a very different question than, say, if it's a marriage, for example, right? Or if it's a work-related situation. I'm going to leave you with that. This is the sort of heavier part of the energies that we need to kind of tackle. But at the same time, there's a real opportunity for liberation from it. So take a look at my New Moon in Gemini video. I'm going to put a link to that as this video ends. And then on my next video, I'll talk about those energies that are more positive and affirming that we should be paying attention to as we look at the past 2 weeks, the week before and after June 19th. Okay, thank you.